RTE 1.
Later on this evening, we have the final programme in the series, Ryerk in Retrospect, where we meet a young Father Eamon Casey. That can be seen at 11 o'clock. Sunday evening in RTE 1, and for the 9 o'clock news, we now join John Finnerty.
McCracken Tribunal report to criticise payments to politicians but show no evidence of favours. Over 1 million people attend the papal mass in Paris to mark World Youth Day. And Michel de Bruyne wins a 4th medal at the European Championships in Seville. A very good evening to you. The report of the Duns Payments Tribunal, which is to be issued tomorrow, is expected to conclude that there is no evidence that political favours were sought or given in return for payments. But the report is also expected to severely criticise former Taoiseach Charles Haughey, as well as former Minister Michael Lowry, over the payments they received from Ben Dunn. Once the report is issued, attention will turn to the possibility of a new tribunal with a wider brief to investigate decisions made by Mr Haughey and Mr Lowry while in government.
When the Duns Payments Tribunal began hearing evidence in April, few believed it would prove that former Taoiseach Charles Haughey had received money from Ben Dunn. But the tribunal's legal team was able to follow the money trail and find evidence linking Mr Haughey to the so-called Ansbacher deposits, offshore accounts held in Dublin banks. After initially denying he got the money, Mr Haughey was forced to admit the truth when he gave evidence 6 weeks ago. But he claimed that the late Des Traynor looked after his finances and he didn't know who gave him the money until after his resignation as Taoiseach. Mr Justice Brian McCracken will have to subject that claim to close scrutiny in his report, and Mr Haughey's credibility isn't helped by the fact that he initially lied to the tribunal. The other main subject of the report will be Michael Lowry. Despite widespread speculation about a political motive for payments to him from Ben Dunn, it now seems clear that the payments were related to Mr Lowry's business, Streamline Enterprises, which did work for Dunn Stores. But Mr Lowry is likely to face criticism about the method of the payments, which involved offshore bank accounts. Ben Dunn too may be criticised for the way he made all these payments, although the company itself and the current management are likely to be cleared of any involvement. Whatever the report's conclusions, when the Dáil meets in a fortnight's time to discuss it, it seems likely that some new inquiry will be set up, both to investigate other possible payments to Mr Haughey and to look into decisions made by him and by Mr Lowry when in government.
In Paris, over 1 million people attended a mass celebrated by Pope John Paul to mark World Youth Day. The 77-year-old pontiff told them he hoped to celebrate the same occasion again in Rome in the year 2000. From Paris, our religious and social affairs correspondent Joe Little.
It was a huge turnout, larger even than the Catholic Church had predicted. The police said over 1 million came to Longchamp Racecourse to the World Youth Day Mass. Irish tricolours were among the forest of flags waved in greeting as the Pope arrived for the 3-hour ceremony. Back at the Irish base, 1,000 pilgrims had prepared all week, with a little celebration thrown in.
There has been a catechesis, a coming together of the group, an experience of community, experience maybe of the universality of the church. So many different people with different views, different streams, different ideas, coming from so many different countries.
Altogether, 135 countries were represented. 3 Irish bishops, Archbishop Desmond Connell and the Primate, Archbishop Sean Brady, led the Irish delegation. The temperature soared above 40 degrees Celsius and the Pope looked tired at the end of the 4-day visit. But he told the congregation that, God willing, he'd celebrate the next World Youth Day Mass in Rome in the year 2000. He also announced he'd be making St. Therese of Lisieux a doctor of the Church, a rare honour for a woman. Judging by the record turnout of pilgrims like these who came to see the Pope, This has been the most successful of his 6 visits to France. However, he's angered the ruling socialists by visiting the grave of his friend, the anti-abortion campaigner Jérôme Lejeune. At Orly Airport this evening, there was no evidence of the rift when Socialist Prime Minister Lionel Jospin bade farewell to Pope John Paul.
The Labour Party leader Dick Spring has said he would not oppose SDLP leader John Hume if there were all-party agreement on a single presidential candidate. But on RTE Radio's This Week programme, Mr Spring said if there was an election, he wouldn't be a candidate himself. Gardaí in Athy have appealed for witnesses to a shooting in the town last night in which a young man was injured. The 22-year-old man is being transferred to hospital in Dublin for further treatment. His condition is described as stable.
The shooting happened at around 10:45 last night. The victim and 2 friends had been drinking outside the town courthouse in Emily Square. The lone gunman walked from behind the courthouse here in Athy to where the 3 men were sitting drinking. Dressed entirely in black, he did not speak and fired a single shot. He then fled the scene on foot. Described as of average height and of stocky build, he wore a balaclava and was not recognisable by the victim or his friends. The injured man was taken to Naas General Hospital. His condition today was described as stable. Gardaí were carrying out house-to-house inquiries and searches of the surrounding area this afternoon. No clear motive has yet been established for the shooting.
Well, we're investigating a number of theories, but as of now we have no motive. We have an investigation team in position and they're carrying out inquiries at the moment.
Now, the description given of the gunman is quite vague at this point, but you were able to interview 2 of the friends that were with the victim.
Well, the description he's describing in his mid-20s, fairly stocky build. He was dressed all in black. He apparently had a hood over his head, and we believe maybe a scarf around his mouth, or maybe balaclava, but the only pattern that could be seen were his eyes.
It is believed a sawn-off shotgun was used in the attack. Gardaí in Athy were today appealing for any witnesses to the incident to contact them.
College offers were being posted to applicants around the country today. An Post has collected the envelopes from the CAO in